To begin with, we've all heard about letter bombs. This is a copy of a letter bomb that was found in a United States Post deliverer's knapsack some time ago. Luckily, it didn't go off. Usually, with the letter bomb, you'll find that there's a seepage of oil coming from the explosives that's used inside. And in addition to that, you might find little wires poking their way through the side of the envelope. Now, wires play an important part in the different types of devices because most of them are electrically operated by either 9 or 1.5 volt units. You might, for example, that when you get any type of mail, if you're a target type of an industry, such as Lipton may possibly be, I hope never, what you should do is you should take all of your mail, put it from the mail room, bring it over to have it scanned by an X-ray machine. Now, most of the envelope type of devices are used by completing a circuit. A power source, which is a battery, a length of wire going to the explosive, usually with a small flash bulb embedded into the explosive. The flash bulb, when it goes off, generates the heat necessary to set the unit off. We come to a very, very popular bomb that was used against police cars in the city of New York about 15 years ago, started by the FALN, the Fuerza Armada Liberación Nacional. It's a Puerto Rican organization that supposedly is fighting for the liberation of Puerto Rico. We won Puerto Rico, as you probably remember, in the Spanish-American War, and they won it back again. The bomb is called a condom bomb, and that's exactly what it is. They take 2 condoms. In the first condom they take and they put pool chlorine in it, ordinary pool chlorine. They stick the second condom in on top of that and put a very high type of liquid, such as cashew nut oil or something like that would cause, or brake fluid, that would cause it to seep eventually through the membrane of the first condom into the second. When it comes in contact with the pool chlorine, it raises the temperature to a point where it flashes and you get a burst of flame. So what the Puerto Rican terrorists did was they took the caps off the gas tanks on the police cars and they stuck it inside the tank, not into the gasoline, but just inside the tank, and then put a piece of string onto it with a piece of scotch tape to hold it in place. By luck, none of the cars blew up. But one of them, when it was being pulled up, shot up a sheet of flame and burnt one of the policemen. Saying, you probably remember that incident. It was at the time you were still in the department. Now they talk about explosives and where they get their powder and what have you. A lot of the powder is ordinary reloading ammunition that pistoliers use, and people who are on firing ranges, and people who are sports people who try to outdo one another in getting new types of explosives and new types of bullets. You can buy all you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. Other people would prefer to use a particular type of firecracker type of explosive, such as you'd find in fireworks. Now, the type of explosive is not that important. What they're really trying to do is show a force of terror, trying to get people very, very much afraid. Many, many people think that a stick of dynamite has to be red in color. That in infusorial earth. It used to be in sawdust years ago. And it's then wrapped up in ordinary brown paper and heavily waxed. Pieces if you want. Nothing's going to happen. But if you induce a particular type of energy into the unit itself, into the dynamite itself, you're going to have an explosion. Usually it's an electrical charge. So what the terrorists do is they play on this, and I'll show you exactly in just a second. Now, dynamite has a very, very strange thing to it. If you took a stick of dynamite, like so, perfectly safe. As I said, you throw it up against the wall, nothing will happen. And you put it down on a block of wood, and you just leave it there year after year after year. What happens is all of the trionitrotoluene, the TNT, will soak down through the craft paper, through the wax, and embed itself into the wood. Now what happens is your wood becomes very highly explosive. And it takes a lot of work to clean it up and get it to a point where it's safe to bring it out for destruction. Dynamite is a tool, and it's very, very readily available. In New York City, there's only one company that's permitted by law to sell dynamite. However, we go up into places in the New England area, such as happened with the Students for a Democratic Society, or I guess you remember them. They went to New England Explosive Corporation, distributor of explosive compressors, drills, wire rope contractors, and mining supplies. They spent $56.40. They got 100 pieces of dynamite. They got 100 number 6 fuse caps. They had 75 foot of orange wax fuse and 50 feet of number 8 foot relay caps. Now, this incidentally comes out of the report from the United States government. But anyway, you want to take a look at it, you can take a look at it. Incidentally, ask me why it's mounted like that. So, it's mounted that way because I'm tired of being the librarian for people. Cops steal like nothing you ever saw in your life. I bought the anarchist cookbook 7 times. I don't blame them. That's the way I got my first copy. Dennis does the other one. At any rate, you talk about dynamite and what it can do. All you have to do to set off a charge is complete a circuit. And to complete a circuit is the simplest thing in the world. So that you can understand and you can see where we're coming from. I hope you can all see that at any rate. We have, beautiful. One which is direct current. One leg comes out, the other leg comes out. If we connect something here, we have a completed circuit. Let's say what we do is we take and we have a battery, 9-volt battery, okay, with 2 legs. We have a stick of dynamite, we have a cap. The circuit, and what happens? We have an explosion. Now let's see if we can go into this a little bit so that you can understand where we're coming from insofar as the explosives are concerned and what have you. An explosive is a very strange piece of work. You take a stick of dynamite, you lay it on the ground, ordinary ground. You put a blasting cap into it. You induce an electrical charge. You cause ignition. You get a loud bang. You go over to the area, and about that much of the ground is blown away, about 1/8 of an inch. It's blown away. Take another stick of dynamite, put it in, put a blasting cap into it, introduce a charge. Only this time you take a rock and put it down on top of it. A small rock. What happens? You get a 6-foot hole. So the power of dynamite can be directed. Thank God terrorists don't use that type of technology when they're doing something. The terrorist uses the simplest of material because he's following instructions from a booklet which was called The Mini Manual of the Urban Guerrilla. Again, when the guy looks silly walking out the door with my manual. The Mini Manual of the Urban Guerrilla was first put on a duplicating machine. It was made by Carlos Marighella a terrorist who is in South America, and he describes various and sundry things that a terrorist should do. First of all, he should learn all about explosives. He should join gun clubs. He should learn how to fight. He should learn how to steal. He should learn this. He should learn that. And it's all outlined here. The Students for a Democratic Society circulated that particular manual. Incidentally, that was copied and recopied. It's word for word is what Marigala said. The Students for a Democratic Society went on and they published a lot of their own material. Abby Hoffman, who was once with the SDS, also wrote a book called Steal This Book. I don't know if you ever read it. It's rather interesting, but the man didn't have very much of a brain insofar as explosives is concerned. We come into a position where we're going to say, all right, he's not going to come in with a book with a bomb situation set up in the book. This he's not going to do, but he's got to get explosives on board. We have a material called betacord, primacord, betacord. It's an explosive type of fuse which goes off and ignites at the rate of 24,000 feet per second. Now 24,000 feet per second is a hell of a long distance. If you took 10 times that amount, you have 240,000 feet in 3 seconds. You can knock down a whole forest. What they do in some places when they're clearing a forest, they'll wrap this cord around various and sundry trees, just like this, tie a knot in and go to the next and next and next. They'll introduce an electrical charge, the whole forest goes bang, right? Sneakers, and they put the cord in for shoelaces. Now here again, this is a very, very stable piece of material. There's cases on record where lightning has actually struck. Lightning, millions of volts, has actually struck betacord and detacord, and nothing happened. It's very, very safe. But introduce a plain electrical charge, it will activate it. The United States Army, for example, in sappers, when I went to sapper school in World War II, you didn't know I was that old, did you? When I went to World War II to sapper school, they showed how to make setups such as this. All you do is you take a wooden peg and just press it right through the dynamite and then introduce the betacord to it. So that when you introduce a charge going 24,000 feet per second, you have one massive explosion so that you'll take down an entire bridge in one. Explained very, very much in a lot of the material that comes from the Institute for Explosives. Primer cord, detonating cord. Just to give you an idea what it says. Ease of use. Primer cord is easy to use. It's light in weight and flexible, handles easily under field conditions. In actual use on a blast, it is almost foolproof. There is no case on record of the detonation of standard types of primer cords by extraneous electric currents. On at least one known occasion, primer cord failed to detonate when the trunking of a completely hooked up blast was directly struck by lightning. That was completely hooked up. So you see, as a tool, it's a wonderful thing. Just put yourself in the position of an engineer. You're going to build a building. Hey, the old-time Irishman, the old-time Italian is not here anymore, where they used to take and they used to tie the wheelbarrows and carry them up with their backs and push them along on little boards. And the Irishman used to put on the hods with the bricks and climb up the ladders and go one brick by brick by brick. No. This is a tool. You go to the hinterlands of Pennsylvania, say, I want to buy a case of dynamite. Sure, how much you want? Bang, sign for it and you can take it out. Because the man is a farmer, he wants to take out tree stumps and what have you. It's made for that. You can't take a tool away and say it's all dead dangerous. It's the thing that people make a mistake. They don't realize what they're dealing with. Now, a lot of the explosives that were found, some in bags, some in suitcases, some in briefcases, some wrapped up, and the other. How can you simple, very, very simple, just like the letter bomb, or the courier's bomb, as that one was, particular one was called. Let's go up to a type of an explosive ignition that was used not too long ago by a lot of people in the clothing industry. Abe and Mike and Joe get together one day and they say, you know, we lost $150,000 last month, $200,000 the month before that, $3,000 before that, $450,000 before that. Let's face it, we're on the way out and we can't afford to go bankrupt because we want to open up again someplace else. Let's have the place hit by the mafia lightning. So we say, fine, but how are we going to set a timer? The simplest thing in the world. We'll let Mother Nature do it for us. They took a charge, an ordinary charge of whatever you want to use. It doesn't necessarily have to be a they'll take and have a mouse trap. And over here they have a wedge with a string on it. If you open a door, it pulls out the wedge, the mouse trap comes down, makes contact, completes the circuit. Or if you wish, have the circuit here with a piece of cheese. When a mouse comes to feed, the trap goes down, completes the circuit, and you'll have an explosion. Very, very simply done, either by door or by a mousetrap. But probably one of the simplest ways that they found to set a fire was none other than something that was used in World War II. And that little item, believe it or not, was written up in the OSS manual. You remember the Office of Strategic Services, now known as the Central Intelligence Agency. Wild Bill Donovan was in charge at that time, but that has set more fires and caused the Germans more problems than any other type of sabotage. Now, let's get to another type of bomb that was used by the FALN, again, the Puerto Rican group. They distinguished themselves by they put a little watch in there, and they put a flash bulb with a battery and a little bit of gunpowder in there, so that when the battery went off, made contact with the watch, it would set off a flash, and the flash would set off the gasoline. Perhaps you remember Alexander's department stores on 149th Street and 3rd Avenue in New York City. In the men's department especially, in the jackets and in the overcoats, they had these devices set in Goya food boxes. Imagine chlorine and brake fluid, or cashew nut fluid, which is the basis of a took some hair cream right under where the flap goes down, like that. They put the seconds for it to ignite. because of the heat generated